The water hit Rosa's back like ice, and she gasped, dropping the rag in her hand.
You missed a spot.
Isabel
Clean
stood
it up.
over her with the empty bucket, lips curled into a smile that never reached her eyes. Oops, Isabel said. Guess you'll need to mop that up too. Rosa said nothing. She never said anything. Not when Isabel mocked the way she rolled her R's, not when she docked her pay for a dish left in the sink, not even 3 weeks ago when Isabel's fingers had dug into her arm hard enough to leave a bruise the shape of a small storm cloud. But this time, someone else saw it. Lady mean to mommy. The voice cut through the marble hallway like a struck bell. 4-year-old Lily stood at the top of the staircase, her small hands balled into fists, her eyes locked on Isabel with a fury too big for her tiny frame. Marcus Whitfield froze in the doorway, keys still in his hand, briefcase halfway to the floor. He had just walked in from a 12-hour day, expecting quiet. Instead, he found his fiancée standing over his housekeeper, who was soaked and shaking, while a 4-year-old shouted accusations that made his blood run cold. "Lily, sweetheart, go back upstairs," Rosa said quickly, her voice trembling. But Lily didn't move. She marched down 2 steps and pointed a small finger at Isabel. "She hurt your arm before. I saw it. You cried in the closet." The room went silent. Rosa's face drained of color. Isabel let out a short, sharp laugh, the kind people use when they're buying time. "Marcus, baby, kids say the wildest things," Isabel said, setting the bucket down with practiced calm. "You know how imaginative toddlers can be." Marcus didn't answer. He was staring at Rosa, at the way her sleeve clung wet against her skin, at the way her eyes wouldn't meet his. Something in his chest twisted violently. "Rosa," he said quietly, "look at me." She shook her head. "Rosa, please." 3 months earlier, none of this would have seemed possible. Marcus had built his fortune from nothing, dragging himself out of a cramped apartment in Fresno through sheer stubbornness and sleepless nights, until his software company was worth more than some small countries. He remembered what it felt like to be invisible, to be spoken over, to be treated like furniture. That's why he'd never blinked when Rosa asked if she could bring Lily to work before preschool opened. That's why he paid his staff more than market rate. That's why, when Isabel Kane walked into his life with her old money smile and effortless charm, he thought he'd finally found someone who understood grace. He was wrong. It started small. A cold comment here. A sharp correction there. "This is America, Rosa. Speak properly in my house." Marcus hadn't heard that one. He wasn't home for most of it. The late nights at the office, the board meetings, the investor dinners. Isabel made sure of that timing. She was careful. She was so careful. But careful only works until someone stops being afraid. "Mommy didn't do anything wrong," Lily said, her voice cracking now, tears gathering. "Why does the lady always make her cry?" Rosa closed her eyes. Weeks of silence, of swallowed humiliation, of counting days until the wedding in hopes that things would somehow get better, it all came rushing up at once, and she felt something inside her finally give way. "I'm sorry," Rosa whispered, not to Lily, not to Isabel, but to herself. "I should have said something sooner." "Said something about what?" Marcus's voice had dropped an octave, low and dangerous in a way none of the staff had ever heard before. Constance, the head housekeeper, appeared in the hallway, drawn by the commotion. She'd warned Rosa weeks ago, "Write it down, keep proof, protect yourself." Now she stood frozen, watching the storm she'd feared finally break. "Marcus, this is absurd," Isabel snapped, crossing her arms. "You're going to trust the ramblings of a toddler and a maid over me?" The word hung in the air like smoke. Not Rosa. Not a person. Just a job title, spat out like an insult. Marcus turned to her slowly. "Say that again." Isabel's confidence flickered for the first time. "I didn't mean." "Say it again, Isabel." Silence. He turned back to Rosa. "Show me your arm." "Marcus, it's nothing." "Show me." With trembling fingers, Rosa pulled back her sleeve. The bruise had faded to a sickly yellow-green, but it was unmistakable, for small marks where fingers had gripped too hard, too angry, too many times before. Marcus felt something in his chest cave in. Not sadness. Rage. Cold, focused, terrifying rage. "How long?" he said, barely above a whisper. "How long has this been happening?" Rosa's lips trembled. 3 months of silence pressed against her throat, fighting to stay buried, fighting the fear of losing her job, her income, Lily's medicine money. But looking down at her daughter's face, furious, protective, unbroken, she found something she thought she'd lost. Her voice. "Since the engagement," Rosa said. "Since the day she moved in." If this story is already making your chest tight, imagine what happens next. Hit subscribe now, because this is only the beginning, and the truth is about to blow this house apart. Marcus turned to Isabel. "We need to talk. Now." "Marcus, you're overreacting over some water and a bruise that could have come from anywhere. There are cameras in this house, Isabel." His voice was ice. "Every hallway. Every room except the bedrooms. I installed them for security 2 years ago and forgot they existed until right now." For the first time since he'd known her, Marcus watched real fear crack through Isabel's practiced composure. Marcus didn't wait for her response. He turned and walked straight to his study, Isabel trailing behind him, her heels clicking rapid and uneven against the marble, a sound that betrayed the panic she was fighting to hide. "Marcus, wait. Let's talk about this like adults." "That's exactly what we're about to do." He sat down at his desk and pulled up the security software, hands steadier than he felt. Rosa stood in the doorway, Lily's small hand wrapped tightly around hers, both of them watching in stunned silence. "You don't need to see this," Isabel said, and for the first time, her voice cracked. "It's not what it looks like." "Then it should be easy to explain." Marcus clicked on the archive from 6 weeks ago. The footage loaded in grainy silence, then sound filled the room. "You call this clean? A child could do better than you." Isabel's voice, sharp as broken glass, filled the study. On screen, Rosa scrubbed a countertop that already gleamed, her shoulders hunched, absorbing the insult without a word. Marcus's jaw tightened. He clicked forward. "Another day. Another clip. Sit down and eat when I tell you to eat. Not before." Isabel, standing over Rosa in the kitchen, blocking her from a plate of food during what should have been her lunch break. Rosa's stomach audibly growled on the recording. Marcus felt sick. "Stop it," Isabel said, her voice rising. "Stop, please turn it off." "Why?" Marcus asked, not looking away from the screen. "You said it wasn't what it looked like. So keep watching with me." Another clip. Another. A pattern stretching back weeks, then months. Cruelty stacked on cruelty, each one small enough to dismiss individually but devastating in totality. Isabel mocking Rosa's accent in front of guests. Isabel accidentally locking Rosa out during a rainstorm for 20 minutes. Isabel's hand closing around Rosa's arm the day the vase broke, twisting hard enough that Rosa's knees buckled. "Please," Rosa whispered from the doorway, tears streaming freely now. "Please, I didn't want him to see it like this." "I'm sorry you had to live it," Marcus said, his voice breaking for the first time. "I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner." Isabel lunged for the laptop. "This is a setup. Someone edited this, someone's trying to destroy what we have. There's more." Marcus caught her wrist gently but firmly, stopping her before she could slam the screen shut. "There's a call. From last week. Your mother." Isabel went white. "You didn't think I checked the shared cloud backup for the home security system, did you?" Marcus said quietly. "Your phone automatically synced when you were on the guest Wi-Fi. I wasn't looking for anything. I found it by accident this morning while pulling footage for the alarm company." "Marcus, don't." He pressed play anyway. "Once you're married, the prenup won't matter as much as everyone thinks." Isabel's mother's voice crackled through the speakers. "Judges favor the spouse who plays the long game. Give it 2 years, cry a little, and half of everything is yours. Just keep him distracted until the ring's on your finger." "He's so easy," Isabel's voice responded, cold and calculating in a way Marcus had never heard directed at him before. "He wants to believe I'm perfect. As long as the maid keeps her mouth shut, None of it matters. The room fell into a silence so heavy it felt physical. Marcus closed the laptop slowly, his hands trembling now, not from sadness but from the realization of how close he'd come to marrying someone who saw him as nothing more than a bank account with a heartbeat. "Get out," he said. "Marcus, get out of my house. You're really going to throw away 2 years for a maid's word and a doctored recording?" Isabel's voice turned venomous, all pretense gone now. "She'll say anything to keep her paycheck. They always do." Lily, still holding her mother's hand, stepped forward despite her tiny frame trembling. "You're a mean lady," she said, voice shaking but clear. "My mommy works so hard and you're mean and I don't like you." Something about hearing it from a child, plain, unfiltered, devastatingly honest, broke through whatever was left of Isabel's composure. She snatched her purse off the chair and stormed toward the door, pausing only to hiss one final threat over her shoulder. "This isn't over. I'll tell everyone what really happened here. I'll tell them you're unstable, that the stress of the company broke you, that you're seeing things that aren't real." "Try it," Marcus said, his voice eerily calm now. "I have 4 months of footage and a recorded confession from your own mother. Try it." The front door slammed so hard the windows rattled. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Marcus sank into his chair, dragging a hand down his face, and looked at Rosa with an expression of raw, unfiltered guilt. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, voice hoarse. "I would have believed you. I would have protected you." "Because people like her always win," Rosa said quietly. "Because I needed this job. Because I couldn't risk Lily's medicine, our apartment, everything we have. Because when you have nothing, you learn that silence is sometimes the only thing that keeps you safe." Marcus stood and crossed the room, kneeling in front of Lily so he was at her eye level. "You are the bravest person in this house," he told her. "Do you understand that? You saved your mom today." Lily blinked up at him, still sniffling. "Is the mean lady coming back?" "No," Marcus said firmly. "She is never coming back." He turned to Rosa. "And you're not going anywhere either. Not unless you want it. Whatever you need, whatever Lily needs, it's done. Medical bills, school, anything." Rosa opened her mouth to protest, out of instinct, out of years of learning not to accept too much. But something in Marcus's face stopped her. For the first time in months, she let herself believe someone actually meant it. If you felt your stomach drop during that phone call reveal, smash that like button right now, because what happens next, when this story goes public, is going to shock you even more. Comment below if you saw Isabel's true colors coming. Outside, the sun was beginning to set behind the mansion's iron gates, casting long shadows across the driveway where Isabel's car peeled away in a screech of tires and wounded pride. Inside, 3 lives that had been quietly unraveling for months were about to be stitched back together, but not before the truth demanded to be seen by the whole world. The story might have ended there, a quiet resolution behind closed gates, if Isabel had simply disappeared. But wounded pride doesn't stay quiet for long, and by the next morning, she had already begun her counterattack. Sources close to tech billionaire Marcus Whitfield say his recent breakup was triggered by a mental health crisis. The headline read, "Planted by a gossip blog Isabel had clearly tipped off herself." Insiders claim workplace stress led to erratic behavior and false accusations against staff. Marcus read it standing in his kitchen, coffee going cold in his hand, jaw clenched so tight it ached. Rosa stood nearby, folding a dish towel with hands that had gone still. "She's trying to make you look crazy," Rosa said. "So no one believes what actually happened." "I know exactly what she's doing." Marcus set his phone down. "And I'm not going to let her rewrite this." He called his lawyer that morning. By afternoon, he'd made a decision that surprised even himself. Not a quiet settlement, not a lawsuit buried in paperwork and non-disclosure agreements, but something louder. Something true. "Are you sure about this?" his attorney asked over the phone. "Once this footage is out, there's no controlling the narrative anymore." "Good," Marcus said. "I don't want to control it. I want people to see it." The footage went to a journalist Marcus trusted, someone known for careful, responsible reporting rather than sensationalism. Within 72 hours, the story broke, not as tabloid gossip, but as a serious piece on the treatment of domestic workers in wealthy households, anchored by clips of Isabel's cruelty and the recorded call with her mother laying bare the calculated nature of it all. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Comment sections filled with outrage. Strangers who had never met Rosa found themselves in tears reading about a 4-year-old's unshakable honesty exposing months of hidden abuse. Isabel's name became a symbol overnight, not of glamour and old money charm, but of everything ugly that charm could hide. Her family, the same wealthy circle that had shaped her sense of untouchable entitlement, distanced themselves within days. Invitations stopped coming. Friends stopped calling. The recorded voice of her own mother, calculating and cold, became just as damning as Isabel's, proof that the cruelty ran deeper than one person's bad day. "She's gone quiet," Constance mentioned one afternoon. The household had settled into something calmer in the weeks since. "Moved out of state from what I heard." Rosa nodded slowly, feeling something she hadn't expected. Not triumph, not vindication, but a strange, quiet peace. "I hope she figures out why people kept warning her nobody stays on top forever." Marcus, meanwhile, had thrown himself into keeping the promises he'd made that first devastating night. Rosa's salary doubled. Lily's asthma specialist bills were covered in full, no questions asked, no expiration date attached. And when Rosa admitted, almost shyly, that she'd once dreamed of becoming a preschool teacher before life had forced her onto a different path, Marcus didn't just encourage her. He enrolled her. "You don't have to do this," Rosa told him, standing in his study with a community college brochure in her trembling hands. "I'm not doing it for you," Marcus said. "I'm doing it because you deserve the life you were too scared to ask for. Let me help. Just this once, let someone help you without expecting anything back." Rosa started classes that fall, juggling coursework around a flexible schedule Marcus insisted on building around her, not the other way around. Some evenings, Lily sat at the kitchen table doing her own pretend homework beside her mother, scribbling crayon shapes while Rosa studied child development theories she'd once only dreamed about. The change in Lily was the most striking transformation of all. The nervous flinching when doors slammed too loud faded. The wary watching, the way she used to scan rooms for danger before entering them. She laughed more. She asked endless questions again, the way 4-year-olds are supposed to, unburdened by fear. "Mr. Marcus," she asked one evening, tugging his sleeve while he read on the couch, "are you going to marry someone nice this time?" Marcus laughed, surprised by the bluntness only a child could deliver. "I hope so, kiddo. I'm going to be a lot more careful about who I let into this house." He kept that promise too. Months later, at a hospital fundraiser he almost skipped out of exhaustion. He met Emily, a pediatric nurse with an easy laugh and zero interest in his net worth. Their first real conversation happened in the hospital cafeteria, both of them balancing bad coffee and paper plates, talking for 2 hours about everything except money or status. It was the opposite of everything Isabel had been: real, unpolished, and honest. "She actually asked about my staff," Marcus told Rosa later, still slightly stunned. "Not about the house or the company. She asked if my employees were treated well. She asked about you and Lily by name." Rosa smiled. "Sounds like you might have learned something." "I learned everything the hard way," Marcus admitted. "I almost married someone who saw kindness as weakness. It took a 4-year-old to show me what real courage looks like." That evening, as the sun set gold over the same driveway where Isabel had once stormed out in fury, Rosa sat on the porch steps with Lily curled against her side, half asleep after a long day of school and homework and unstoppable 4-year-old energy. "Mommy," Lily mumbled, eyes fluttering closed. "Yes, baby? I'm glad I told Mr. Marcus about the lady." Rosa pressed a kiss to the top of her daughter's head, feeling tears prick at her eyes. Not from sadness this time, but from something fuller, something like pride mixed with relief mixed with a hope she hadn't let herself feel in years. "Me too," she whispered. "You know something, Lily? The people with the least power often have the most important things to say. Don't ever be afraid to speak the truth, even when your voice shakes. You taught me that. My own daughter taught me that." Lily didn't answer, already drifting into sleep, safe and warm and unafraid for the first time in months. Behind the gates of that mansion, life had rearranged itself into something unrecognizable from 3 months before. No longer a house holding its breath in fear, but a home slowly filling with laughter again. Marcus had gained more than clarity about who deserved his trust. He'd gained a family he never expected, bound not by blood or contracts, but by loyalty proven under fire. And somewhere out there, Isabel was left to reckon with a truth she'd never wanted to face. That cruelty, no matter how carefully hidden behind charm and privilege, always finds its way into the light. Sometimes it takes months. Sometimes it takes a security camera or a recorded phone call. But sometimes, the most powerful times, it just takes one small voice refusing to stay silent. If this story moved you even half as much as it moved us to tell it, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss another story like this one. Drop a comment below and tell us, what part hit you the hardest? Was it Lily's courage, Rose's strength, or Marcus's transformation? And if you believe every voice deserves to be heard, no matter how small, smash that like button and share this with someone who needs the reminder today. Thank you for watching until the very end. We'll see you in the next story.